We've all got scars, some on the outside and some on the inside. But we can't be defined by our scars. I've spoken with some extraordinary people about how they've become empowered by their scars. This is I've Got Scars, baby.
All right. I'm so excited to have you here on the show on I've Got Scars, baby. So today we have Ryan Rise Walker on the show. You are an incredible performing artist, you're an activist, and you are an entrepreneur. You have the wake up experience. You're doing a whole lot in the community. And I'm so happy to have you here. And let's see. So, first of all, I just want to say this. Today is, we're going to get to the nitty gritty today on this show. Okay. And I have to go ahead and give it to you, brother, because you're brave, okay? Because I like to be honest, I like to be authentic, and this is I've Got Scars, baby. Everybody has scars, but sometimes even talking about the scars are not, the most comfortable thing, So I just want to say thank you in advance. Before we even get into the topic, I want to say thank you in advance for showing up and speaking and sharing your story. And yeah, this is gonna be something interesting. Today's topic is I feel like there should be a drum roll.
I have my drum in the back, so I can get those if you want.
So today's topic is having the face of the oppressor. Having the face of the oppressor. We all know what's going on in society right now as far as racism and so on. And I mean, it's just been something in this, especially in America, that has just been prevalent, and it's been a lot happening. And we've had recent protests, and we're fighting and working toward equality and connectivity and all these things. And so that's what we're dealing with. And it's really high right now. And so I wanted to come and I wanted to speak with you because I guess the obvious, you are a white man. I just wanted to put it out there in case anybody was wondering. You know what I'm saying? I just want to go ahead and put it out there and clear it up in case somebody was confused. Like, I don't know where she go with this but you're a white man. And at the same time, the work that you're doing in the community is something that is incredibly powerful. And I want you to share what you're doing with the wake up experience. What is the wake up experience?
Well,
right.
before I get into that, I just want to say thank you, because you're a badass.
Aww.
That's true.
Thank you.
And I mean, it says a lot about you to be interested in even hearing my story or the story of a white man. Like, I think that's really beautiful that you even want to have this conversation. That's healing in itself, really. I think, because what I personally believe is we need to listen to each other, and we need to hear each other. We need to see each other. We need to love each other.
Yeah.
And that's what we're here doing. So thank you. But the wake up experience is a lot of things. It's a project that I have with a good friend of mine. He's more like a brother to me. We've known each other since college. So we've been friends for, I think it's over 20 years.
Wow.
Yeah. Hey, we just wanted to be able to fully express ourselves. And also, we both really care deeply about making a positive impact in the world. So we address issues that matter to us. So we create art.
Yeah.
That's with the intention of uplifting and inspiring others. And our mission is to consciously create and inspire others, and to inspire peace and love and unity and justice for all humans, animals in the planet. And we care deeply and acknowledge the connection that exists between everything. I don't know, that's probably a long answer, but
no, that's perfect. That's perfect, because that's powerful. That's a mighty big mission and a mighty big desire and goal, you know?
Yeah.
And so it's very interesting because, and here, before I even fully get started with things, I just want to make sure, like, because you have a perspective, like, as a white man in this, creating equality, creating all of these things. There's a different, you know, it's just a different way to do that. There's a different approach. And I say approach as in your perspective could be considered a little different than somebody who has, you know, in this country been considered a part of the oppressed. You know what I'm saying? And so I want to first go ahead. I like to get stuff out in the open because I believe in openness and transparency. And whoever might be watching this might say to themselves, I'm gonna be honest, Audra. I've seen your other shows, they cool and everything, but I don't know about this, because I don't know if I want to hear the perspective or the scars of a white man. I'm just being straight up. And that could be their perspective. Yeah. And so for anybody that might have that perspective, I get it. I understand. You don't, you know, there's been a lot of pain in that's happened in society as it pertains to racism, and whether it's just overt racism or institutionalized racism, it's been a lot of pain there. But my desire with our interview, Ryan, and everybody else, is to get to this concept of what you have on the back of your wall. There's this one love, this love at the end of the day, because they say love covers a multitude of sin. That the concept of love being the goal. And the only way, so I liken it to kind of a relationship. If you have a relationship just with you and your significant other, the only way that relationship can actually be the best that it can be is if you hear each other out and you work through all the shenanigans, whatever those shenanigans may be. You work through some things to get to this ultimate destination of love. So that's really what I want to do with this interview. So I always have to just, you know, I talk a lot, but I just want to make sure I go ahead and put that out there, because I know somebody gonna be like, look, I ain't trying to hear it. And then some other people might be saying, you know what, I do want to hear this. So Ryan, in your experience growing up, and what has your experience with race relations, racism, racial inequality, or what was your motivation? What have you experienced growing up?
That's a really, really powerful question. I feel like I came into this world with something inside of me already. I've cared about love since I was a kid. Like, and to me, what feels like a real authentic love, not just like an idea of a romantic love, but just a bigger sense of love and peace and harmony. And I was unaware of it when I was a child, but I didn't have like, well, I mean, this seems obvious now to all of us, I'm sure. But my experience, even as a white boy, was not the typical white boy experience. I didn't know that. So I remember even having conversations with Evan, and
Evan, who was Black.
yeah, Evan, yeah, oh, yes, yeah, Evan, who is Black, and also has a PhD in critical studies of African American cinema and hip hop culture. So he studies the culture and history and hip hop. And I remember.
And can we share some of your background, because you've studied spiritual psychology and
Yeah, I studied. When I was younger, I studied music. So like, just theory and performance and voice. And then I got a degree in recording arts. So I thought I was going to be an engineer. I guess I am in a sense. I'm more of a producer now. That's the route I decided to take. But that's on the music side of things. And then just for, like I said, I've always kind of been really interested in love. So that's what led me to studying spiritual psychology, because it was so love based. And I think I think most religions are love based. And maybe to some extent, like, well, we're human and, we're not perfect. So, we can get sidetracked.
Yes, absolutely.
So, but I liked the intense focus on love. Like love is all that there is. I really like that perspective. So back to what we were talking about, my experience. My childhood experience was, I guess, I wasn't surrounded by only white people. It was a little bit more diverse than. I wasn't like the only white person. It was a predominantly white town. But there was more than like one or two Black kids. Like I grew up in a condominium complex. So there was a lot of kids. So even just in my little, there's like maybe a parking lot and like 4 units, or 3 units or whatever. Like a condo complex, went across the parking lot or whatever. I had a lot of Black friends as a child.
Yeah.
And when you're young and you don't have that programming, that stuff does not cross your mind as a kid, unless someone puts it in there.
Yeah.
So it wasn't in my mind. So what happened though is I had the traditional and the very common white experience of being completely oblivious to my privilege. Because like I did not have that in my heart. No prejudice and no discrimination, no hatred. And I also didn't see it. Like I often wondered, in my adult life, did I just not see what was happening to my friends? Or like they certainly didn't share it with me. Yeah. I had whatever experiences they may have been having, I had no idea. Not until probably, I think I started to kind of become aware a little bit more in middle school, maybe, but in high school and then certainly in college. That's when my eyes really got open in college.
What were you experiencing? Like you said, maybe in middle school and high school, what were those things you were seeing about the differences?
I think that was more on a social level, like a societal level. I didn't really personally see much with my own eyes, like within my network and my community, because like we were just all having fun still. I was just talking to somebody the other day and I was like, this is the early 90s, right? Or mid 90s. Well, when I was in middle school, I was in middle school between, 91 and 94 or something like that, and those are golden years, I think, as far as it goes.
Yeah.
But we had the the circles, the dance circles at dances where one person gets in the middle and everyone's like, go Ryan, go Ryan. You're busting behind these dance.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
I didn't know that that wasn't normal for like predominantly white
Kids.
that experience. I just thought that was the experience,
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. I mean,
so in your household, was it kind of like, okay, Ryan's hanging out with a lot of Black kids? Did that come up? Did it matter? Was it just Ryan has friends and that's just what it is? How was it for you growing up? Like in your household?
My household was okay. I definitely had some family members outside of my household that were super, I almost dropped an F-bomb, that were super racist. Like, and it used to make me angry. I mean, it still does. It's just, it still does. It's hard to not, I don't know, for me, it's challenging to not be angry at that sometimes. Like, I've had arguments with family members that say the most ignorant stuff. Like, I don't know, I could never understand, like, why they think the way that they think, and that's...
Yeah.
But as far as my household, everything was, like, chill,
So do you feel like the family members outside of your household, did they just not grow up with that kind of close-knit experience like you had with the different kids around, like people that didn't look like you? What was their experience just different in your mind? Did they tell you why they felt the way they felt?
I'm sure they have no idea why they feel the way they feel. Because they would, and this is not a lot of my family members, this is a few.
Yeah.
But I've even had conversations with family members that didn't even understand why Colin Kaepernick was kneeling and had an issue with that. That was obvious to me.
Yeah.
Like I know that there's some people had to be explained why Black Lives Matter, and some people needed to be explained why that needs to be said and be acknowledged. I understood it right away.
And do you feel like you understood it though because of how you grew up, is what you're saying?
Mate, I don't know. Yeah. It's just obvious to me. So I'm like, how do people not get it? That's really what I struggle with. Like, it's like, as soon as people took issue with it, it was very easy to understand, like, we're not saying no other life matters. It's just like, our lives have not mattered for how many hundreds of years based on treating us. Like, that's obvious. So I never understood the pushback. However, this is a really good conversation right here, because this is what I think is a huge, for any white person that gets triggered by Black Lives Matter and wants to say all lives matter, on a deep, deep level, they don't think that their life matters. They don't think that they matter. And I know that because that's some of my own healing work that I'm doing,
Let's get into that. That's very powerful, first of all. And that's something that I don't think anybody on the other side of things, like as a Black person, as a person of color, you're like, wait a minute, it seems like the world revolves around your community, right? Yeah. So we would not understand how you could think that you don't matter when everywhere I go, I see a representation of you.
Sure.
So at least in this country.
Yeah.
But why would you say that they don't feel like their lives matter?
I think that's part of the human condition, to be honest with you.
Well, yeah, I agree. Well, for you, I don't like to make generalizations.
Yeah.
So I like to keep it on you, the individual, and your own personal experience. So for you,
I could talk about my experience.
Yes. What was your experience with not feeling like you matter?
My parents divorced when I was 8. My dad left. I I mean, I've become aware of this recently because I had thought in my adult life I had healed whatever issues I had with my parents' divorce. Um, but my dad, he left my mom for another woman. I was mad at him because I saw how hurt my mom was, and that was really hard for I think any child to see their mother suffer.
Yeah.
And I didn't know how else to love my mom at the time, but then to suffer with her. That's still something that I'm trying to change within myself. I'm working on changing. I've realized that, like, to suffer with someone else is not the best way to love them. It's not really loving them at all. But when my dad left, part of me definitely believed that was part of my fault, that I wasn't good enough, because if I was good enough, then my dad would have stayed. And then even growing up, like, then he ends up with another woman. She had 3 sons, and they're still married, and I have 3 stepbrothers, and I love my family. I want to say that, but that experience still deeply affected me. And then also growing up, my dad, he did responsible things like pay child support, but he wasn't really emotionally there for me. Like, he didn't call me. He wasn't really in my life. I would go there every other weekend with my sister, who's a year younger than me. And we would spend time with my dad, my stepmom, and my 3 stepbrothers. But most of my time was spent with my stepbrothers. So I still, like, didn't really have my dad in my life. So I guess I had this story throughout my whole life, like, I don't matter, like, not to my dad.
So would you say then, if depending on how you feel as an individual about yourself individually, that can then be focused outward into more of a societal type of thing? If you don't feel like you matter on an individual basis, you kind of can't hold space for other people.
To some extent, yeah. I mean, I know, like, we all deal with things differently, but, like, listen, if the majority of white people believe that their lives matter, why are we going to oppress anybody? You know that saying, hurt people hurt people.
Yeah.
There's truth in that. And it's not an excuse.
Yeah.
But there's a reason.
Yeah.
I mean, you're just not going to hurt somebody when you are at peace with yourself.
I agree with that. And that can be seen, because I don't want it to, because that is a very, very, very true statement. And I just want people to break it down too, and so that we can understand it within our own lives. And that's why I always like to liken it to a relationship.
Yeah.
Like with your significant other. If you're going through some stuff, work is crazy, kids are crazy, and you feel overwhelmed or whatever, you can lash out at other people. Doesn't make it right. It's not okay. But it's some stuff that needs to be rectified, because it's like you said, no, it's not a good excuse to abuse. Wow. Okay. So in feeling that way, growing up, you still had these relationships though with people who didn't necessarily look like you. You still had this certain level of compassion. How are you still able to tap into that level of compassion for people that are outside of what you would consider to be your community? How do you, because when you are hurt, when you are feeling however you're feeling inside, because you still have to have a responsibility for your actions. You still have to move about the world and not harm people. So how do you even though you were going through whatever pain as it pertained to your dad, as it pertains to your family, and your perception of how your dad saw you, how were you able to still move about and be kind to other people? You know what I'm saying? Because that's one of the things. It's kind of like when you're in pain, yeah, it don't feel good. So, but how are you nice to anybody when you're going through your own, what you feel like might be your own hell?
Yeah. Um, well, I don't know if I have the perfect answer, because I only have the level of awareness that I have, and some of it is just I think is a guess. But
Mm-hmm.
um, but one thing that feels pretty true to me is that I've always known how much love is within me,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that I've known about how much love is within. There's so much love in me that like these things could happen, and there could be a lot of pain and a lot of suffering, but the love has always gotten me through.
Mm-hmm.
And but the one thing that I've struggled with just with humans in general is how hypocritical we can be, and we all are.
Mm-hmm.
All of us. There's
Mm-hmm.
not a human on this planet that's not a hypocrite to some extent.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really learning that. And I remember getting triggered by people who were calling people hypocrites, but being hypocrites themselves. So then I said, Ryan, how are you being a hypocrite? And what I realized is my biggest hypocrisy has been with how I treat myself.
Mm.
So I have extended kindness and compassion and love to others, but I have not done that for myself.
Ooh,
Yeah.
okay. I just have to say, you done spoke a word right there. That is huge, huge. And please don't lose whatever your next thoughts are, but I have to speak to that because there's so much we try to, and this is just humans, this is me too, but you try and do so much for everybody else, and you are like, yes, I say nice things to this person, I go to church every Sunday, I do this, I give that person money, I help that person do these things, and yet we're the first people to say I suck.
Yeah.
I did this horrible, I messed up. Man, I'm a mess. I am a hot mess. Why did I do that? And I was always so critical about my scars, about just everything. I would rip myself apart. And how can you rip yourself apart and think that you can fully, unconditionally love anybody outside of yourself? Because you're not offering that to yourself.
Yeah.
And that goes for everyone.
Yeah.
It's just it's critical, it's crucial, it's just a part of the process. So thank you so much for sharing that part. That's huge.
Yeah.
Huge.
It is huge, and it plays into the really really well into the subject that we're talking about. But I'm gonna lighten the mood just a little bit.
Uh-huh.
I saw an interview that you did the other day with a black man cannot what a black man cannot do. And you
Mm-hmm.
had me cracking up with that. It was so funny.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you what this white man cannally do,
Okay.
specifically me.
Okay.
I cannot promise that I will not get emotional and maybe even cry a little bit while we're doing this interview.
Oh.
I can't, like, because yeah, this is big stuff.
I
So
go go go.
having the face of the oppressor.
Yes, yes.
I'm not asking for pity from anyone. It's just that when you have so much love for people, all people, I've been lately trying to use this, because I'm not just this, right? None of us are. To empower and use it. I don't think I came to this earth to use this to victimize myself, but that's what I've been doing to some extent. It's just like, I just want to love a world full of peace and love, like for real. Like I've since I was a kid, I had this like utopia vision. I really believe, like we may not have a perfect world, but I do believe that we can have a world where there's no hatred and no racism, no oppression of any form, zero. Like it's just like these are things that seem so obvious. Like get rid of the oppression, you know, get rid of homelessness, get rid of hunger, like all these awful things that exist in the world don't need to. They really don't need to. Like we could do so much better. And I really believe that. Yeah, that's been a heavy thing for me to physically represent oppression of all others. You know, of people of that look different, whether that be skin color or gender or sexuality. Like I'm a straight white man. You know?
Yeah.
And I have nothing but love for all people.
Yeah.
And sometimes I just like it's like, man, I speak up, I use my voice. I'm not quiet. But it's like it's crazy because like to some extent I know, I mean, all humans prejudge. There's not a single human on the planet that doesn't prejudge.
Yeah.
But I know to some extent what that's like to be on the receiving end. I also know what my white privilege looks like. Like just to give you an example, I've lived in Inglewood for 5 years now, and prior to that, I lived in Leimert Park for 2 years. And I used to drive a Camaro. A white man driving a Camaro in Leimert Park. A white, what? Like, is this really happening right now?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I also had tinted windows, so I've gotten pulled over quite a bit when I had that car. Never once the window goes down, I'm good. Unfortunately, like I mean, not that unfortunate that I'm good, but unfortunate that it wouldn't be that way for somebody else. You know, so yeah, I don't know, man. This is a crazy world.
Again, thank you for your sincerity, because that is the situation. Because what happens is that when you're just in this kind of 3D world and we're only looking at ourselves and each other as the color, as the gender, as the sexuality, as the whatever you can label and write down, whatever you can physically touch or see.
Yeah.
When we look at each other like that, when we even look at ourselves like that, and we don't see beyond, it freaking sucks for everybody. Because, and it's just, we are just in a time where the negativity and all of the bad stuff is associated with Blackness and color and darkness, or whatever you want to call it. It's just associated with that. It's associated with, oh, you don't have X amount of dollars in your bank account. Oh, well, you don't count. You don't matter. And it's a lie. And I think that's the biggest thing, is that we have to understand that we are bigger, we are more than just the aesthetics on any level. Because it could also be a situation where it's like, oh, you don't have the body like that Instagram model. Oh, you don't matter. You know what I'm saying? So it pops up in so many different, and then when you hear that or you feel that energy from people, you start to receive that, and you then can take it into your own spirit and say, oh, I don't matter.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Oh, I am less than, because I don't look like that person, because I don't have that amount of money, because I didn't go to that school, or whatever the case may be. And it just sounds to me like, okay, nobody wants to suffer, and suffering don't feel good for anyone. Having someone suffer while you're winning, it sounds like, doesn't necessarily make you feel better.
No, that actually hurts a lot. I'm really glad you said that. You put that into words perfectly. That's a lot of the white guilt and white shame right there that that I've experienced. And like I said earlier, I've had this misunderstanding that to love someone, I need to suffer with them. And to some extent, because I'm a highly empathetic person, I can feel that suffering. I may not have experienced it directly, but I know that it's not good. Yeah. And I could feel that pain. And that I don't want to be the cause of anyone's suffering or oppression at all. And I've felt like in my life that just simply existing in this world, that's what I'm doing to others. That doesn't feel good.
And so I would imagine, you talked about white guilt, and I'm a proponent. I don't like guilt. Guilt is not, now everything has its place and its purpose, but I remember whenever I think about it, whenever I hear the word guilt, I'm automatically, like, my mind goes to this video I saw of this little girl. She was adorable. And her mom had some cookies out. And the mom was like, don't eat the cookies. Do not eat the cookies. And she had the camera on her. And the little girl just was enamored with these cookies, and she just could not have the cookies. So she takes the cookies and she's eating the cookies, right? And then the mom comes back over. Did you eat the cookies? And then because of her guilt, she has cookie crumbs all on her mouth. It is completely obvious she didn't eat the cookies.
Yeah.
But she's hiding herself.
Yeah.
She hides herself, and she's like, no, I didn't eat the cookies. You can tell she obviously ate the cookies, but because of the guilt, she hides.
Yeah.
And so when I think about white guilt, I think of the concept of, okay, well, if your ancestors did, or if you benefit in a certain way because of it, hiding from that does not take away the cookie crumbs from your mouth, and you hide yourself, that's not necessarily repairing the situation. No. So maybe it's just about, hey, these are the cards I've been dealt. Just like, this is the situation. This is what it is. I don't have to run from the situation, but what can I do? And I think that's just about asking yourself the right questions. What can I do to do my best as a human being to consciously love, and even as much subconsciously love on somebody else and care about somebody else's well-being? What can I do? Even if that just means raising your children around a diverse, community and having them connect with people. Maybe that's the role. Everything, if you ask, it'll be given to you. What can I do to make this world a better place so that we're all loving each other? And I think that at the end of the day is all we can really ask. And that's just it. So that's just my perspective. But what is your perspective on how a white person can then become an ally and not necessarily hide behind or allow the guilt to weigh them down and keep them from being their best selves and loving in a full and open way?
Yeah, man, this is really good stuff. Well, because like, listen, I mean, we're all on our own journeys and everything, but like, this is definitely a part of my journey, even right now. Because the funny thing is I have played super small my whole life, totally, because I felt that, and I'm not saying just in the sense of like race, but in other ways too. Whatever, I felt that the only way I could help people feel safe is if I were to shrink. Or if I got too big, and if I shine my light too much, then I'll end up being alone. You know? So those are just some of the misunderstandings that I kind of whatever created a story in my head as a child and carried through my life subconsciously. And I'm still like noticing how they play out. And everything that you said is like, yeah, like I'm not being of the best service and bringing as much love into this world as I can. But then at the same time, it's important for me personally to acknowledge everything that I have done, because I have had a tendency in the past to not acknowledge how many important, beautiful things I have done. And then it also helps me realize, so what can a white ally do, or how can a white ally be effective? And what I'm liking about what you said is like, I think especially these days, you know, a lot of times people think of activism as like marching and protesting, and those things are super important. There's just a lot of other ways to do it, of course, like with our voting and but simply being in the world as a beautiful, loving human is doing something.
Yes.
Yes. I've had a lot of healing experiences since COVID, getting to know some of my neighbors better. You know, like going to they call it a park. We can call it a park. It's just a big roundabout with some grass and some benches and a couple of trees in it.
Okay. Yeah.
But I go to the park, and a lot of, you know, since COVID, a lot of people from my neighborhood, we spend time there, you know, like walking, exercising. It's amazing. There's so many little kids playing, and like, it's so awesome. But I've gotten to know people in my neighborhood, and I've had just having a conversation with a dude for an hour. We just because we would see each other all the time, say what's up, and then one day we talked for an hour.
Yeah.
I think stuff like that helps. Like, I didn't do it to be like, oh, I'm going to help right now. No, I did because this is a cool dude. I'm feeling his vibe, and we just kicked it, and we had a dope conversation. That's it.
Oh.
And I honestly, we had conversation about the state of you know, racism in the United States, and I think to some extent, now I'm kind of nervous saying this as a white man, but I'm going to say it. There are beliefs that we all hold on to, and that the system has, in a sense, made us feel that we have to believe these beliefs for our survival. And one of them is this Darwinism perspective, like survival of the fittest. So even while as I'm having this conversation, with this man, he's buying into that. I understand why he's buying into that, because his whole life he's being boom, 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 down. You're being pushed down, you're being pushed down, you're being pushed down, you're being pushed down. You're not getting a fair chance. But at the end of the day, to believe that the only way that I can have a good life is at someone else's expense, that is the problem. That is the problem. I have zero interest in that. I have zero interest in that. To me, it's obvious that, let's just put it like this. Can you imagine a world, and I got to tell this to myself too, where every single human was the best version of themselves? And every single human had equal opportunity to become the best version of themselves. A world where everyone on this planet is the best version of themselves, or like working towards becoming that.
Yeah.
We would have a completely different experience, and we would all be thriving. It's like, we get a small percentage of people. That's the thing. Racism, hatred, oppression, any kind of oppression, no one is exempt from it. I cannot hurt you without also hurting myself. I might buy into some delusion that I'm not benefiting from that at all. Like maybe monetarily or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I have more money, I have an easy life or whatever. But my heart, my soul.
Exactly. It suffers. It suffers. And I'm gosh, that is so good. I'm so glad that you said that, because we're so deeply connected. And we're talking about spiritual connection. Like, we're all here and we're connected to one another. So if I hurt you, I'm still hurting myself. And it's like, even if, here's what's interesting. It's like, imagine, even if the only reason you treated somebody well, if you were just kind of self-absorbed that the only reason you treated somebody well was for you to feel good about yourself, think about that. That sounds crazy. And it's like, okay, of course you should do it because it's the right thing to do. But if you weren't even caring about the right thing to do in the moment, because sometimes you just got to go through the motions to get, and everything, all the right intentions will follow. But even if you only were nice and kind and loving toward people, was so that you could feel wonderful inside of yourself and give yourself good health. Like, if we studied how healthy your body is from forgiveness and kindness and joy and love, you know what I'm saying? Like, even if I was kind to you, just so I could feel good about myself and have good mental health and prosperity and whatever, it would still be a lot better than it is now. But it's crazy that we honestly feel like, I'm gonna be mad at you and be mean, and then I'm gonna feel wonderful. Who feels wonderful after they just got in a fight? Like, you might feel good in the moment, like, yeah, I need to punch that dude or that chick or whatever, but then you still not like jumping for joy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I'm really glad that you brought that up. And I'm not saying go do nice things because you want to feel good. But
the truth is, though, like, that does feel good. I think I do believe that most people are good people. Yeah. Now, we do have narcissists, no doubt. And we do have people that are power hungry. But here's the thing. Let's just talk about the system for a second. I believe that our system attracts narcissists and power hungry people. Like, these positions of power attract people who want to exploit that. And then we get this idea that the bigger picture, like the majority of humans maybe aren't that great. That's not true. I don't believe that's true. Power to the people. We do need to come together. Like we really do. Like we just hand our power away too easily.
Whew.
Like the power is within us, like for real. Like, you know that and I want to be, I don't even know what the words are, but like, I'm not trying to diminish anyone's experience. I'm not trying to say any of the things that I say to excuse the poor behavior of how white people have treated basically anyone who's not white or not a man or not heterosexual. Whatever we do, or throw animals in the mix, because I'm vegan too. There's that. So that small percentage of people that want to exploit power have created race, because it's not a biological truth, to control us and to divide us and to separate us. Like that's a real thing. Now, that doesn't mean that these experiences haven't happened to people. They certainly have.
Absolutely.
But let's acknowledge that. Like, listen, like I am sorry. Like I if I could apologize to every Black person on the planet right now, I am sorry. I wish that I could wave my hand and all that would go away. It happened. I love you. We are in this together. And let's not let these lies separate us anymore, because they're lies. So I can acknowledge that I bought into the lie and then say, but it's still a lie. And let's move past it now.
Yeah.
You know? And acknowledge our differences and celebrate them.
Yes.
If we're allowed to be different.
Yes.
Why does it have to be a problem?
That part. Hello, because if you saw the same dog, if all dogs were pugs, I don't know if everybody would love dogs. I'm just saying, not saying that pugs are bad.
No.
You know what I'm saying? There are some pug people and some, a retriever.
So
you know what I'm saying? If
that's
every tree was an oak tree, it'd be like, well, where the palm trees at? What's going on?
Yeah.
This is a boring experience.
Yeah.
And that's the real thing. And I think we have to kind of race and color and ethnicity, all of that, like, it seems like that's so separate from what I just said. Like, if every flower was a rose, then that flower wouldn't be special. At the end of the day, it would just be a flower. Okay.
Right.
So I think that's what I'm just really trying to say. Like, we are roses and daffodils and calendulas. We are tulips and all these things. We're orchids and whatever. And it's like, admire God's beauty, appreciate God's beauty. And you don't have to make the differences. Like you said, it's okay. It's okay that somebody is over here listening to Tupac and you want to listen to Barry Manilow. We good. We good. Because there's some people over here that like to listen to Barry Manilow and vice versa. So what are we talking about?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's okay. It's okay to not be the same. I think that's huge.
Yeah.
That's huge. Because if we just look at it like, yo, because, this is another thing too. Let's take it back to that relationship with your significant other. Sometimes we will be so angry that this person does not like to do exactly the same thing that we do.
Oh, sure.
That we make them feel bad for not wanting to do the stuff that we like to do.
Yeah.
And so it's like, oh, you don't love me because you don't like to go shopping on Thursdays. No, he liked to watch the game on Thursdays. Or she likes to go shopping on Thursdays. She doesn't want to sit there and kick it with you. Whatever the case may be, allow that person to be who they were created to be. Sure. And give each other this freedom to exist and in our most powerful form. And there's no love lost in the differences. You understand what I'm saying? There's no love lost. It's okay. So, okay, I just had to say that because my goodness. And this is new to me too, because I at one point in time, there's a level of control that you like to have. And you're like, and if you don't do the things that I do, if you don't say things the way that I say them, then it's a problem.
Right.
But we're taught that. You see what I'm saying? Like when we're kids, you know, okay, we might be a little more open to just the differences.
Yeah.
But we've learned that differences are bad. So what if we ask ourselves, what are the benefits of the differences?
Well, life is not boring, like you said. I think celebrating them, like it's just, I don't know. It's just like, differences are awesome, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, maybe not always.
Not always.
But I guess it depends on how you look at it. Because like, for example, like, let's say like a society, like there are societies that do some stuff that we think is like insane and we wouldn't agree with, right? So that's why I'm saying maybe a difference isn't awesome. But how can I make that awesome? Well, because it's so much easier usually for us to see the insanity in another than it is to see it in ourselves. It's like, dude, America, the rest of the world knows how jacked up we are. Do we see it?
Hopefully we're starting to see, hopefully we're starting to look in the mirror.
Right.
And I think that's the main thing, is looking in the mirror. And I always like, again, looking at myself. It took me a long time to look in my own mirror, to see myself, to see my scars, to see the stuff that I hated about myself. And right now, I think it's important for us as a society to look in the mirror. And I want to go back to your points. Everybody as an individual, look at yourself in the mirror. And I believe before we're trying to change the world, sometimes just take a moment to just love on yourself. Give yourself grace. Yeah. Because you know, I imagine I'm just throwing stuff out there. I don't know. But I imagine as a white person, you might be like, well, I'm not racist. I'm not trying to do it. And it could be a lot going on. It could be a lot of, how do I help? But it could be a lot happening. But like you said, take a look in the mirror. And if you understand that hurt people, then just do your work, your inner work, so that you're not hurting anymore the way you once were hurting. What's going on? Are you tapped into yourself? Are you loving on yourself? Because in this society, and I'm just throwing stuff out there, I may not be accurate in my observation, but I could imagine as a white person, if things were, you know, if things were, I could imagine as a white person, if things are a certain way, that it might be a little easier to be a little more removed from your feelings, because the outside world could possibly tell you that you're okay because you have a fat 401k, that you're fine because, you know, you get pulled over by the police and everything is cool. But are you really deep down inside, the inside stuff? Are you still suffering from what happened to you back when you were 5 years old? Which makes you kind of cut off and not even tapping into, you don't even understand the concept of empathy, possibly because you just haven't healed yourself. Yeah. And so I'm just saying that I think one of the first things to do. The first step is to really, and this is for everybody really, it's just to look in the mirror and love on yourself for a minute, genuinely. Like I appreciate who I am, even if I have a long way to go. Like whatever that hurt is, whatever that other stuff is, go talk to somebody. Go do what you got to do, and then you can be able to help other people. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sorry for interrupting you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know that not everybody can love on themselves. And they're like, how am I supposed to do that? Or I don't even like myself and you want me to love myself? So maybe just start with one thing that you like about yourself. Just one thing.
Mm-hmm.
There's got to be at least one thing that you like. You don't have to love it. You just like about yourself. Mm-hmm. And then if you could think of another, cool. Maybe start a list. Maybe read that list every day.
Yes.
I don't know. I've not done these, but it's just, I'm like, man, maybe I should do that.
Yes. It's a process. And I like to tell people this, and I have this in my book. Like a lot of things, like the world is set up in a way to kind of remind you of the not so good stuff, to remind you of the stuff that is broken about you. Yeah. Because there's a lot of comparisons, especially with social media, a lot of comparisons. You get to see other people's success in your face. And it can have you feel a certain way. It can have you kind of feeling like, oh, well, maybe I'm not enough. And that we have to understand that everything that we think is not really coming from us. That a lot of stuff that goes on in our mind, maybe that was something that came from childhood because we observed something. So I really am a proponent for doing this inner work. And if everybody does their inner work, then we can progressively have healing in the world. And it's not just about, oh, it's on these particular leaders to make it happen. It's up to all of us to make this happen. And not even just because you just want to end racism. It's because you want to have a better life for yourself at the end of the day. And when you become more whole and loving yourself and who you are, then the world by default becomes better, because your whole vibration is going to change anyway. And then it's going to be like, I don't know, I was just walking down the street smiling because I was feeling good. And then your smile and feeling good just made this other person smile and feel good. Then next thing you know, they were smiling and feeling good. Then those other people started smiling and feeling good. What?
Yeah.
What? Are you trying to tell me that's how it works? Yes, that is how it works.
I know that because, like, whenever I talk to you, I always feel better. Like, like for real. Like, whenever, like every time I've interacted with you, I'm like, man, if I interact with like Audra or other people that like vibe like Audra more regularly, I'd be like a happier person.
Oh, that is so sweet. I tell you, the only way I could get to this space, and I'm not even, because I'm still a work in progress, always.
Sure. Yeah.
Always. But I'm okay with it. But the only way I got to even where I am at this moment and being able to have a conversation like this with you is because I had to face the stuff about myself that I did not like. I had to look at my scars. I had to look at the stuff that I felt was horrible about me. And not even just my physical scars. I had to look at not only my physical scars, but I had to look at internally, one, what was I saying to myself and all the harsh things I was saying to myself? What experiences did I have that shaped and molded me and made me feel less than? What are, like, all of these things, coupled, of course, with living in an environment where you feel oppressed, or you see other people and they've had certain experiences, and you're like, okay, I'm trying to think the world doesn't suck, but this happened to my family member, or this happened to my friend. You know what I'm saying? So is everybody, nobody is exempt from this work. You know, Black people may have a different type of work to do, but it's still healing that needs to happen.
Yeah.
We still have to do the work to shift the perspective that we are less than,
Right.
which is lies, obviously lies. And so everybody has their own individual work to do. And so I just want to say, Ryan, I am incredibly grateful for this conversation. I really am. And we did not connect just for no reason. Like, we were supposed to connect. I'm so happy that you're sharing this perspective. And for me, I can't speak. I don't want everybody to, it frustrates me when people are like, can you speak for all Black people? So I really don't want you, I don't want you to be having to speak for all white people. That's just ridiculous. Like, come on. We're all different, okay?
Yeah.
But I will say that it really brings my heart joy to hear you and hear your perspective, because when you're looking at the news, when you're talking to certain friends about their experiences, when you are in this world, you hear stuff, you see stuff. Yeah. And a lot of the stuff you hear and see is negative, and it makes you feel hopeless that, oh God, is this world ever going to get better? Or do white people even understand? Do they care? Why don't they care? What do I need? What needs to happen? How many videos need to be shown? How many thises or that's or that, whatever? You know what I'm saying? It hurts, because it's like, yeah, we're screaming over here. Why can't love just happen? You know, that's really what it is. It's like, why can't love happen? And why can't we be a part of that love? And so that's really what it is. And so I say that I appreciate you, and I appreciate this moment, because it gives me a glimpse that love can happen. As you said earlier in this conversation, that's what you wanted to be. That's how you saw yourself. And that's what is happening right now. Love is happening. And I hope and pray that whoever sees this, they see that there are people who do care on both sides.
Right.
Because I don't want a white person to suffer because they are the face of the oppressor. Mm-hmm. That doesn't make me feel good.
Right.
I'm not trying to operate in that space of, well, okay, ha ha ha. It doesn't do, like, my ego is like, well, got him. Like, that lasts for like a hot, and I'm not even saying that that registers as good to me.
Right, I feel you.
But you know what I'm saying? It's one of those things where it's just like, that's not gonna make me feel amazing. That's not gonna make me smile and walk down the street grinning ear to ear. That's not joy.
Yeah.
Seeing somebody else suffer is not joy to me. And I don't think that's joy for any of us, or at least for a lot of us.
It's fear. Anybody that's like, it's not they're enjoying it, but they seem like they like to hurt other people. That's just coming from fear.
Yeah.
Like fear of like I have to oppress you so I can have more, or whatever.
Yeah.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate that you said you can't speak for all Black people and I can't speak for all white people, and that's super true. To just lump any group of people as to having the same perspectives and beliefs, that's insane. One of the things that I've been struggling with, and I want your perspective on this, and because I know that there's some other white people out there too. And the funny thing is the woke white person, a lot of us like to attack each other and tell us how we're doing it wrong or this or that, and that shit ain't helping either. Yeah. Right? Yeah. It's like the woke Olympics.
And everybody's competing about their wokeness. Competing.
Listen, to any white person out there who's trying to partake in the woke Olympics, that is not helping. All right. So let's just let go of that. And let's understand that not every Black person is going to agree of the solution. We all want the same thing. Let's focus on that. We want equality, and we want love, and we want kindness. We want justice. What is justice? I've been thinking about that lately. Right? That's another conversation.
Yeah.
But as I mentioned to you earlier, I've played small through most of my life. And now, like, all right, the idea that me playing small is not helping anybody, but at the same time, I'm not trying to speak over a Black person. You know, like, where's the balance of like, I'm an ally and I am using my voice, but I'm not trying to speak for you. And like, because I know a lot of white people are afraid to say something because what if we say the wrong thing?
Yeah.
Or what if it's interpreted like all I'm trying to do is fight for you, fight with you. But what if that comes across as I'm trying to be the white hero?
Yes.
You know?
Gosh, wonderful questions. That is a wonderful, wonderful question. Thank you for it. And I can't, again, I can't speak for all Black people, but just my individual perspective is that, one, we have to understand that our intention, the energy of our intention tends to be shown. It's just kind of like if you're talking to somebody and they're obviously upset, but then you say, what's wrong? And they're like, nothing. So even if it's not that apparent, whatever the energy is behind whatever it is that you're doing or saying it tends, like, people can feel that. So say you are in a situation and you're speaking up for someone and you just are in the throes of your feelings and your emotions and you're feeling it from the depths of your soul, and you're speaking life, you're speaking your feelings, you're speaking from that honest place, that sincere place. People feel that.
Yeah.
People feel it just as much as we feel you showing up on a Sunday morning in the Black church to say what the Black people, you think the Black people want to hear. And it's not coming from the place of authenticity. It's not coming. It's coming because we got an election coming up, or whatever the case may be. Right. And here's the thing: it's not even about the color of a person's skin at that point.
Right. Yeah.
It truly is about what is your heart saying, because people feel energy, and that's just it. So if a person comes across as they're putting on this white cape and trying to save people, then usually that's because their intention is a lot of times to be that. because they want to go and they want to feel good about themselves and go save some people, so to speak. And that's not the right space to come from. Because you can't, it's not about that. I can't, like, if I encourage somebody or if I say something nice to somebody, I should say it because I feel it deep in my soul that it's true.
Yeah.
And if they are encouraged by it, well, thank God. But it shouldn't be because I want them to see me a certain way.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? So I think sincerity is the most important thing. If you don't have, like, and then also if you're not motivated and like move from inside stuff is not moving you to make statements, then you don't have to make a statement in that moment. You don't have to do a certain thing in that moment. If part of you is just like, look, I don't know what to do, say, hey, I don't know what to do. And be okay with not knowing what to do and say, hey, can you help me in figuring this whole situation out? I don't know what to do, but I want to be of service in this area. And you come and you be solid about that. If that's the conviction of your heart, is, hey, I'm here to help. I know who I am. I want to help. I don't know what to do. Yeah. But this is who I am and this is where I am. And then also understand the other person as well, the other person's perspective. Because just because you're ready to help doesn't mean the other person's fully ready to receive.
That's true.
From somebody that might look like you, because that's a trigger for some people.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that you're a bad person. Right. It doesn't mean that you are less than or any of that. Mm-hmm. And I go back to the relationship between the two people. If you've done somebody or somebody, if somebody in a relationship, you could look like their dad could have raped them growing up. Yeah. So the fact that you're even a man in this relationship can throw them off. Yeah. You can't force the love on them. No. You have to say, hey, I am here. I want to love you. When you are ready to receive this love, I am here for you. And then it is on the other person to do the work to receive that love. And let it be honest and sincere that, hey, you may not be ready to hear it from me because I might trigger you. I still love you, but if I trigger you, that's okay. We gonna still, somebody else can work with you on this situation. Yeah. But that does not mean that you did not have a right, sincere heart. And I think that at the end of the day, that's all that matters. So that's how I see it.
I appreciate that. That's very helpful for me in a lot of ways. I had a classmate once come up and say to me, hey, like, if I've been throwing any shade your way, I just want to apologize because you look like a man who had sexually assaulted me in the past, almost identical. Mm-hmm. And that had been really hard for her.
Yeah.
And obviously, I ain't going to take that personal, right? Like, oh man, that must be really tough for her, Yeah. But you also helped me remember that the gift of my appearance, because I have a pure heart. Mm-hmm. And when I share that with people, mm-hmm. that can be healing.
Yes.
And they have an opportunity to go, oh, someone can look like that and still love me and still care and still want me to have a good life.
Yes.
And I've had that experience before.
Yeah.
A lot. Like, oh, wow. I never thought that you would be the way that you are.
Yeah.
Or like, I've been thanked before. Mm-hmm. Like, thank you. Like, I had you wrong, and now I know that not everyone's the same. Like, that's awesome. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
So if I focus on that more, I think I'll go through life feeling a lot better too.
Exactly. Like, how beautiful is that we started this conversation off with having the face of the oppressor.
Mm-hmm.
And it can be wrapped up with having the face of hope, having the face of reconciliation.
Ooh, girl. Woo! Yeah, because it's like, it's a reframe. Like,
Yes.
I can look at this as a negative thing or a positive thing. How do I choose to look at this?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh, wow, this is an opportunity.
Yep.
It's an opportunity to break down walls,
Mm-hmm.
to reconcile, and to come together, and to be an example of how we're not defined by our appearance or our life experiences. They shape us,
Exactly.
but we can still grow beyond those.
Yes. Yes. If anything, how beautiful is that? So even in the midst of all of the racial inequality, all this shenanigans that have been taking place, shenanigans is my word. So all of the shenanigans, and I don't say that to make things light.
Yeah.
I say that because it's just so much that's just the easy way to describe it.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that's happened, all of the bad stuff, all the horrible stuff that has taken place, there's an opportunity to shift that, to turn those scars into a superpower.
Absolutely.
And a lot of times people don't even appreciate things until it gets to the point where it's like freaking awful.
Right.
And I don't like, nobody wants it to be awful. You know what I'm saying? It like awful does not serve anybody. And I think that's what we really discovered here, is that somebody losing in a moment and you winning in that moment does not feel good. It doesn't. Even if it feels good for 5 seconds, it's not going to resonate as good inside of you. It won't. It's not going to bring you joy and have you skipping down the street.
No.
So what we want to do is do stuff that's going to bring us joy and help us to skip down the street.
Yeah.
And we can do that together. And it is possible. Gosh. So with the wake up experience, what can people expect? Like what are you guys working on? What's the new initiative? Mm-hmm.
Thank you for that question. Well, we released our first single a year ago, last August, and it's called Black Ballin'.
Wow, that
video,
song, and that video, yes.
And the song, the way they work together. Yeah, we put our first single out called Black Ballin' a year ago. It addresses issues of white supremacy and racism, and I would love for more people to go and check that out. You know, we're an independent project, and we obviously made that because there's some issues in the world that need to be addressed, and we feel the solution and the answer is love.
Yeah.
And we present that. I mean, most of the song is talking about the darkness.
Mm-hmm.
And then towards the end of the song, we present love being the solution. Mm-hmm. But you can't ignore the darkness. You have to shed the light on the darkness to heal it. Can't pretend it's not there. It's there, right?
Yeah.
So that video, I think, is really, really powerful. And it's crazy. Like, obviously, this has been an issue in our country for a very, very long time. Mm-hmm. The video was relevant a year ago when we put it out. It was relevant the year earlier. We shot it a year before that. We wrote the song. I mean, the song we started working on it probably 3 years ago, you know? And it's still relevant.
Yeah. Yeah.
When is this song not going to be relevant anymore? I'm looking forward to that day.
You better say that. That's real.
Yeah.
That's real.
Yeah.
That's real.
But it's still relevant. And I think that we create art like that to help wake people up, to maybe reach someone who isn't thinking about this or hasn't seen something from a certain perspective. Um, and sometimes we don't always speak from our personal perspective. Sometimes we may like be like speaking as the hatred.
Mm.
It's a dope video. I'm
Mm-hmm.
sad.
It is. It
It's a
is.
dope video. It's a dope song, and we create music that is honest and raw, authentic, and also full of love, and addresses things that we care about, from human rights to animal rights to the planet, and the disrespect that the way in which we disrespect the planet. Um, and I mean, I'm not perfect. I'm not saying that I don't contribute to any of these things in any way whatsoever, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm just trying to do better, always do better.
Yeah.
And our single New Human, it's our second single,
Mm-hmm.
September 19th. And the song New Human is a song of hope and a song of what's in progress right now. Because the new human understands that we all are connected. The new human actually really understands, does not need to be convinced that by hurting you, I also hurt myself. The new human understands to uplift another is uplifting yourself. Like,
Yes.
to the new human understands that the better you are, the better I am, the better we all are. That's the new,
Yes.
and that goes for humans, and that goes for how we treat animals, how we exploit them, and how that hurts us as well,
Mm-hmm.
and how it also hurts the planet, and how, like, if we continue to live our lives the way we live, we are done. We won't be around much longer, and that is just the truth.
Yeah.
So the new human understands that, and the new human says it's time to love everyone and everything. And for those that are like me, yourself. It's also time to love yourself.
Love yourself. Yes. Ah. Oh, Ryan. I
Oh,
am so grateful. This is so wonderful. And I've heard the song and I'm like,
oh, you're
woo!
in the video, dude. How could I not even bring that up? Audrey's in the video.
You know, I made a little cameo. So, I mean, I just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you so much. How can people get in touch with you and hear your music, hear what you have going on with the Wake Up Experience? How can people connect with you?
Well, the easiest way would be to go to our website, which is thewakeupexperience.com, and it has links to all of our social media there. But our Instagram is @wakeupexperience. But if you go to thewakeupexperience.com,
You can see everything, and
you'll see everything.
the site is amazing. So yeah.
We put a lot of work into that.
Yes. My goodness. Okay, again, I am so excited about this conversation. I'm so excited about uh and grateful for your openness, for sharing your experience. Uh and it's just really powerful. Is there anything that you would like to just kind of give like a quick wrap up in a nutshell? This is what it is type of deal. Anything that you would like to share?
Yeah. Um, wow. Hmm. It's a message of hope. Like, we are going to make it. Like, it's within our reach
Mm.
to create the world that we want to create, even though, like, it seems impossible sometimes. Yeah.
Wow. And with that said, thank you for being a part of I've Got Scars, Baby. And I look forward to the time when racism and inequality and sexism or whatever ism or phobia or whatever is no longer whatever the isms, unless it's
isms. No more.
Yeah, no more negative isms.
Get those out.
We gonna have some isms. Let it be good isms.
Oh, hey.
Good isms, yes. But I look forward to the time when it's no longer a scar, you know, when we've gotten past it and we are really truly seeing each other on the deepest of levels, and we're seeing the beauty in one another and absolutely seeing the beauty within ourselves, because it starts within ourselves first and foremost. So